This is your News Source Evening Bulletin for today, Wednesday, the 1st of July in the year 2020. I'm Gordon Mosley. Here's what we're tracking tonight. President David Granger has once again indicated that he intends to abide by the declaration that is made by the Guyana Elections Commission on the elections, pointing out that it is the commission that has to do its work to bring the process to finality. Speaking to reporters this morning at State House, the president responded to calls by some observers in and out of Guyana for him to concede it. He said the Guyana Elections Commission is still to make a final declaration on the elections.
The executive branch of government does not have a role in managing elections. That role is given under the Constitution explicitly to the Election Commission. I cannot claim victory, which I have not done, and I cannot concede defeat, which I have not done, unless I'm notified formally by the chairman of the Election Commission what the results of that elections of the 2nd of March, 121 days ago, I think, over 17 weeks, have been. I don't know what the Election Commission will declare.
In a recent radio interview, the president said he believes the Elections Commission ought to deal only with valid votes for a determination of the results of the elections. The incumbent APNU-AFC is supportive of that position, as it would mean scores of votes that were suspected of being linked to various anomalies would be discarded. But the People's Progressive Party believes the chief election officer has no power to discard votes. The PPP is so worried about the issue that it has filed a case before the Caribbean Court of Justice, and through one of its members is pushing private charges against the chief elections officer. The undeclared recount of all votes cast is in favor of the PPP, while the undeclared valid votes as dictated by the chief elections officer would be in favor of the APNU-AFC. President Granger said he is awaiting the final report from the chairman of the Elections Commission, and it is that report that he will act upon.
Like all Guyanese, we've been subject to various reports, but the only authentic report will come from the chairman of the Election Commission to me. And that has not happened. In that regard, I encourage all the spokespersons and commentators to wait patiently on the chairman of the Elections Commission, who, when she is ready, will make a declaration. And I've said before, I'll abide by that declaration.
Today marked 4 months since Guyanese went to the polls to elect a government and had been waiting on the final results of the elections. More news coming up in just a moment.
Hello, boys and girls. As you prepare to write your exams, there are a few things you will have to do each day so that you and those around you can be safe and healthy. Please remember, on the day of your exam, you must wear a mask correctly, covering your mouth and nose before entering the school compound. Wash your hands with soap and water at the entrance of the school at the sink provided for 20 seconds. Paying attention to the palm and back of your hands, between your fingers and their tips. Dry your hands with a clean tissue and dispose in the closed bin nearby. Boys and girls, your temperature will be tested by an official. Then you will go to the designated waiting area with the floor signs and markings clearly visible, standing or sitting 2 meters or 6 feet apart at all times. It is now time to start your exam. The invigilator will direct you to the examination room. All the best. Boys and girls, playing and gathering are not allowed. Parents, the Ministry of Education thanks you for the support you have given the children during the time at home. However, in the interest of everyone's well-being, you will not be allowed to enter the school compound. Parents and guardians, we are counting on your support in picking up the children promptly after their exam. Remember, the Ministry of Education will provide transport for children who are living far away that require that assistance. Please be reminded that vending outside the school's compound is prohibited. Only authorized canteen vendors with a copy of their food handler certificate and wearing a mask, food gloves, apron, hairnet, and a hat will be allowed. Always remember to wear your mask correctly, wash your hands, and stay safe. And let's win the fight against COVID-19. A message from the Ministry of Education.
We all want to stay in touch, right? Now, even more than ever before. So to keep your connection strong, GTT is going 2 for 2. Combine GTT mobile and home internet services and we'll give you 2 gigs of free mobile data each month. With 2 GTT services, you're fully connected at home and on the go. Visit us online at gtt.co.gy/2for2 to learn more and start doing more with 2 for 2 from GTT. Stay safe, stay strong, Guyana. We're in this together.
GBTI is your Guyanese bank, a bank that understands every customer's unique needs, opportunities, challenges, and financial concerns. At GBTI, we see you for you. Whether you're buying a new home or car, planning your next vacation or retirement, saving for your child's future, or whether you're ready to take that bold step of investing in your dream business idea, we are with you every step of the way. We hear your stories and watch you focus on your dreams as we share your aspirations. We are more than just banking. We are a family. We are part of your community. Our commitment extends way beyond the walls of our branches and is demonstrated every day in the opportunities we provide to our individual and business customers. The support, time, and commitment we give back to communities across Guyana to help improve the lives of our Guyanese families. Because we see Guyana through your eyes.
The following is an important message from the Ministry of Public Health. You can prevent the spread of the COVID-19 virus. If you have the following symptoms: coughing, fever, or difficulty breathing, please stay home. If you don't have these symptoms, then practice social distancing. Avoid crowds. When in a group, keep a distance of at least 3 feet between yourself and other persons. Please wash your hands with soap regularly or use hand sanitizers. The Ministry of Public Health has a hotline to provide information on the coronavirus. Members of the public can call 227-4986 or 624-3067.
Welcome back. After listening to arguments for more than 7 hours in the Guyana election declaration case, the president of the Caribbean Court of Justice, Justice Adrian Saunders, announced that the court will hand down its decision on the case next Wednesday, the 8th of July. The case was taken before the CCJ by the presidential candidate and the General Secretary of the People's Progressive Party. Through their attorney Douglas Mendez, they are requesting that the court throw out the Guyana Court of Appeal's decision on the interpretation of the words "more votes than" to mean more valid votes in the Guyana Constitution. During his submission before the court this morning, Mr. Mendez, while conceding that the CCJ had no jurisdiction to hear the appeal, said the court should still act in dismissing the decision of the Guyana Court of Appeal. He was adamant that the Guyana Court of Appeal lacked jurisdiction to even have entertained the original matter.
If the question of validity is really depending upon the interpretation of another law, not the Constitution, if, for example, it depends upon the interpretation of the Representation of the People Act, then that is not for the jurisdiction of the Court of Appeal. And likewise, if the question as to validity depends upon the construction or the enforcement or the alleged breach of an order that GCOM was moved to make under its special powers under Section 22 of the Election Laws Amendment Act, then that would be again for the High Court. It would not fall within the exclusive jurisdiction of the Court of Appeal.
Attorney John Jeremy, who represented the applicant in the original matter, Aslan David, maintained in his submissions to the CCJ that the court lacked jurisdiction to hear the matter, since the Guyana Court of Appeal's decision was final. He said with it having no jurisdiction, he does not see how the CCJ could entertain and rule on the Guyana Court of Appeal's decision.
The question is whether the first question is, does the Court of Appeal have jurisdiction to entertain the motion filed by Aslan David? And my answer to that is yes. We move the court. At B, in her motion, she asked the court to interpret the Constitution insofar as an election is concerned. And the word election has the meaning ascribed to it in the Narayan case, which I have cited to your lordship. Now, the second question that your lordship posed was, if the Court of Appeal lacked jurisdiction, what is the consequence in respect of this proposed appeal? Well, my lord, there is a long and unchallenged line of authority which tells us what the answer to that question is.
A number of other attorneys representing the other respondents in the matter, including Guyana's Attorney General, also laid out their submissions. The judges throughout today's hearing also grilled the attorneys on their understanding of various sections of the Guyana Constitution in relation to the issue of valid votes and the election of the President and the National Assembly, as well as the role of the Chief Election Officer. The judges said they will be studying all of the submissions in the coming days in time to hand down their decision next Wednesday. The President of the Court made it clear that the orders of the Court preventing the Elections Commission from taking any other action will remain in place until the decision is handed down. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has declared that he has instructed his State Department to ensure that those persons undermining Guyana's democracy are held accountable. He did not name the persons he believes are undermining democracy in Guyana, and neither did he indicate what form of accountability he may be considering. The statement was made this morning during a State Department press briefing in Washington, as he complained about the long wait for the election results in Guyana.
It's now been 4 months since Guyana's election, long past due for a peaceful transition of power. CARICOM and the OAS have certified the recount results. They should get on with it. I've instructed my department to ensure those who undermine Guyana's democracy are held accountable.
While CARICOM and the OAS were observers of the electoral process, the certification and declaration of election results in Guyana rests with the Guyana Elections Commission and that body only. Pompeo has been threatening sanctions against any government sworn in on results that are not credible. He has never indicated how he or his government intends to determine credibility of elections in Guyana. The declaration of the results in Guyana has been put on hold on a number of occasions, following court action and later an agreed recount and more court action. The Elections Commission is currently barred from making declarations at this time, as another election matter is before the Caribbean Court of Justice, which is Guyana's highest court. While the People's Progressive Party through its member Desmond Morian and the New Movement Party through its candidate Daniel George Kanai have filed private criminal charges against the Chief Elections Officer of the Guyana Elections Commission, alleging fraud. The two separate charges against CEO Keith Lowenfield were filed yesterday and could come up for hearing as early as tomorrow. The private charges stem from the Chief Election Officer's controversial decision to discard more than 115,000 votes in his move to come up with a final valid count of the votes from the elections. In the charge filed by the PPP Civic's Desmond Morian, he is alleging that Lowenfield willfully misconducted himself in public office by ascertaining false results, thereby breaching the public trust. The charge filed by the New Movement's candidate George Kanai accuses the Chief Election Officer of allegedly conspiring with others to commit fraud to alter the results of the elections. Kanai's contention is that between the 5th of March 2020 and the 29th of June 2020, while performing his duty as the Chief Election Officer of the Elections Commission without lawful excuse or justification, Lowenfield willfully misconducted himself by ascertaining results of the 2nd of March elections for Guyana, knowing the said results to be false. The private criminal charges against the Chief Elections Officer were filed on the eve of the Caribbean Court of Justice hearing. The PPP wants the CCJ to throw out a ruling by the Guyana Court of Appeal which interpreted the words "more votes cast" to mean more valid votes as stated in the Guyana Constitution. In the compilation of his final report, the Chief Elections Officer explained that he was guided by the appeal court's decision in coming up with the result, showing the valid and credible votes that were cast in the elections according to him. He has been defending his decision. Well, Regions 1, 4, and 7 remain the regions most affected by the coronavirus pandemic in Guyana. Over the past 24 hours, a total of 56 tests were completed. There were 3 positive results, and that takes the total active cases up to 120. Deputy Chief Medical Officer Dr. Karen Boyle, in her update today, said there are also 2 persons now in the COVID-19 intensive care unit. She said the Public Health Ministry continues to work closely with the officials in the regions that are hardest hit by the coronavirus.
My fellow Guyanese, According to our statistics, regions 1, 4, and 7 continue to have most of the cases. I wish to inform the residents, particularly in regions 1 and 7, that the ministry is working collaboratively with the various agencies within the region to address and help arrest the situation that is threatening to spiral out of control. We are calling on all residents to cooperate with the health officials as we work to contain the spread of the disease in your communities.
Region 1 currently has most of the active cases of the coronavirus in Guyana. More than 60 of those cases are from that region. The community of Santa Mission is expected to go on a total lockdown from this weekend, as residents fear that the numbers could continue to climb. Meanwhile, the curfew measures will remain in place across the country. Meanwhile, the Public Health Ministry reported this evening that Guyana has recorded its 13th COVID-19 death. The victim is a 42-year-old man who passed away at the Georgetown Public Hospital on Monday. With the recent spike in coronavirus cases locally, the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority has delayed the phased reopening of the country's 2 international airports. The Cheddi-Jagan International Airport at Tamari was set to reopen its runway today for international commercial flights. However, in a statement, the Civil Aviation Authority said it consulted with the Ministry of Public Health and made some adjustments to its reopening plan. The Director General of the Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, Egbert Field, said the authority and the National COVID-19 Task Force consider the health of Guyanese and the nation as a top priority, and that triggered a delay in the reopening plan. The airports under the current phase will continue to allow limited repatriation flights, outgoing flights, cargo flights, medevac flights, and special authorized flights. Phase 2, which is expected to allow additional repatriation and commercial flights, will now commence on the 1st of August as part of Phase 2 of the reopening plan. The GCAA has made it clear that no airline has been granted approval for the conduct of a scheduled commercial operation. The authority also says it has drafted regulations and standard operating procedures to guide aviation stakeholders on the measures which are expected to aid in the mitigation of the spread of COVID-19 and the full resumption of aviation-related activities. The Guyana Civil Aviation Authority has said it will continue to monitor the COVID-19 situation in the country. The airports have already put several systems and safety measures in place for their eventual reopening. Let's tell you now that the government's holding company NISIL has announced that it has credited the account of Guyana with $250 million, which represents a partial response to the company's request for a bailout from the government. An additional $750 million is to be made available soon. NISIL said its total disbursements to Guyana over the past 2 years have now reached just over $9.7 billion, and that's in addition to more than $40 billion that the company received from the government directly. According to NISIL, Guyana should seek to resolve its financial challenges through professional engagements with the holding company, rather than to resort to what it called petty disclosures and half-truths in the media. NISIL is advising the Guyana directors to obey the terms and conditions of the bond and urges the reporting of its expenditure schedule to the holding company. Back in May, the Guyana chairman wrote to President David Granger seeking his urgent intervention. The chairman said based on the company's financial situation, it has found itself running out of cash and needed money to not only support its operations but to also pay salaries. There were fears that the company might have been forced to grind its operations to a halt. The Guyana Defense Force is under a new commander. Brigadier Godfrey Best today assumed the office of Chief of Staff of the Guyana Defense Force after receiving his official instruments of commission from President David Granger. Best takes over the GDF as the current Chief of Staff, Brigadier Patrick West, proceeds on pre-retirement leave. In brief remarks, President David Granger said Brigadier Best was taking over the leadership of the GDF at an important time in the country's history and at an important time for the Guyana Defense Force.
Management of the Defense Force this year will be challenging. The Chief of Staff is assuming command of the force as Guyana celebrates its 50th anniversary of having become a republic. The force celebrates its 55th anniversary of its establishment, and the country embarks on a decade of development. This will be the most transformative period of our history
The new acting chief of staff, who began his military career in 1990, has pledged that he will continue the good work that was set by his predecessors, adding that the Guyana Defense Force will remain a professional organization.
The Guyana Defense Force has been mandated by law to defend and protect our national patrimony. As the Chief of Staff, I see it as a sacrosanct duty, and we will work hard to ensure that we continue.
In comments to the media, he also said the GDF will support the democratically elected government of Guyana. Across the region is coming up next.
They've made a positive impact on the heavy-duty transportation industry in Guyana since they've arrived. Guyanese are amazed at their power, durability, efficiency, and superior handling capabilities. These are brand new trucks, manufactured in partnership with German, Italian, and French companies. They have a powerful reputation for operating under very adverse Guyanese conditions and come with full after-sales service and spare parts. They're the most sought-after trucks today, with over 500 units in Guyana, and they're available in over 100 countries, including South America and the Caribbean. Be smart. Buy brand new ST Howo trucks today. Call 608-4998 and arrange for an inspection at ST Truck Guyana Incorporated, Block B, Public Road, Covenant, East Bank, Demerara.
We are legions of men standing strong, but never too proud to stoop and help someone. We must send a clear signal to all. Do right. Walk in upright ways, knowing that's what being a man is all about. And ever aware that things will only get worse when good men do nothing. Stand strong. Be the one to live right.
Are you washing your hands correctly? Here are some tips on when and how to wash your hands. Step 1. Wet your hands with clean water. Step 2. Then apply soap. Step 3. For 10 to 15 seconds, lather your palms together. Always remember to pay attention to your fingers, especially your nails and tips. And don't forget the back and between of your fingers. Step 4. Rinse hands with clean water for about 20 seconds. Step 5. Dry hands with a clean paper towel or tissue.
But when should you wash your hands? After using the toilet, before and after eating, preparing or handling uncooked food, after playing with pets or caring for animals, after sneezing and coughing or blowing your nose, before and after changing babies or caring for others.
Frequent hand washing or using a hand sanitizer with alcohol as an alternative will remove viruses and bacteria from your hands.
A message from the Ministry of Public Health in collaboration with PAHO WHO.
Across the region right now, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Services reported that it has foiled a well-orchestrated plan to destabilize the country and had arrested 72 people as protesters blocked roads and fired gunshots, demanding that the officers involved in the deaths of 3 men last weekend by the police be brought to justice. The police force confirmed that 1 person has died as a result of the protests yesterday and said investigations are on the way to determine the cause of death. Media reports have identified the dead woman as Ornella Greaves, age 30. She died while being treated at the Port of Spain General Hospital for gunshot injuries. There were also reports that 1 man had also died as a result of the protests. The police commissioner Gary Griffith said 72 persons have been arrested. Trinidad and Tobago has recorded more than 234 murders for this year already. The country has been gripped in a tug of war when it comes to crime. The London-based Commonwealth Secretariat says that powerful satellite technology can now help Caribbean countries better manage natural disasters and boost climate resilience as the region braces for a busy hurricane season. The Commonwealth said a virtual event co-organized by the UN Institute for Training and Research showed how remote sensing satellite technology was recently used to support Asian and Pacific countries in responding to supercyclones. The cutting-edge tools provided by the UNITAR Operational Satellite Applications Program are even more vital as the Caribbean grapples with multiple threats linked to both climate disasters and the coronavirus pandemic. Experts predict up to 10 hurricanes in the Atlantic by the end of this year. And finally tonight, international news. Somalia's fishing authorities have submitted a formal complaint about Iranian vessels illegally fishing in its waters. The Somali government accuses Iran-flagged vessels of the deep sea exploitation of tuna fishing. In an interview with the BBC, the fishing minister of Somalia said his government had formally submitted a complaint about a surge of illegal Iranian fishing vessels in the Somali waters. He added that Somalia has spotted up to 100 vessels in its waters using satellite images. According to the minister, Somalia will also seek compensation for illegal fishing activities over the years. Somalia cut its diplomatic ties with Iran back in 2016 and expelled Iran's ambassador from the country just days after Saudi Arabia broke off diplomatic relationship with Iran also. And that's your News Source Evening Bulletin for tonight. I'm Gordon Mosley reporting.